All right, good morning again, everyone. I'm I-Team Chief Mike Magnoli. It's time for Justice on the Ballot. This is an interview segment to help voters get to know the candidates in the races that will decide who our next leaders will be, and they'll shape law and order in Palm Beach County. I have Alexcia Cox with me on the sofa. She is running to be Palm Beach County's next state attorney, but she's already working in that office. She's been a longtime prosecutor in our area. She's a Democrat. Alexcia, this is a crazy political season that we find ourselves in. I want to talk to you about, how does Alexcia Cox appeal to the Republican voter? How do you bring them over into your camp?
Well, I think it's important for every voter to understand that although the office of state attorney is partisan, the work isn't. And I'm a firm believer that party politics, it has no place when we're talking about public safety. And so I want people to understand that as the next state attorney, it's going to be my duty, my responsibility to make sure that everyone is treated with respect, with dignity, given the attention that they deserve and they need in terms of their specific case needs. And we don't allow party politics of any kind, to influence our decisions. And that's the type of leadership that I will bring and that I'll have in that office.
Okay, I want to talk to you about a case that made headlines a couple of weeks ago. Fellow's name is Michael Weissman. He's from Jupiter. He was accused of making online threats and threats on social media against former President Trump. And the state attorney's office decided that he would be eligible for pretrial intervention. And some folks out there, Alexcia, are saying he got off with a slap on the wrist, and given the gravity of the situation, of the threats against former President Trump, you guys should have been more heavy-handed with him. I know it wasn't your case specifically, but you are in that office. So will you speak to this decision to give him pretrial intervention? Well,
I want to be careful with my words because I'm not in the office, and I think sometimes it's irresponsible and maybe even reckless to speak on a case when you don't have all the facts and know everything about it. I will say this, though. The specific crime that he's charged with, I believe, was written threats to kill. That's a very serious charge, and it's a great tool that we have as prosecutors because we don't have to wait until someone acts on their threats. We're able to jump into action, prosecute them, hold them accountable for just their threats to do something. And I believe that what Mr. Weissman did, it was wrong. He should be held accountable. I do believe that, as prosecutors, we have certain tools in our tool belt and toolkit, and one of those is PTIs. Whether or not that was appropriate, I believe that that is something that we all are going to debate about, but I do believe that he has to be held accountable for those actions, and we have to send a strong message to anyone in our community who thinks it's appropriate to threaten anyone, whether they are a high-profile figure or not, whether it's political or not. We do not tolerate threats of any kind. I've prosecuted that particular charge multiple times, and I believe in holding people who do that accountable.
I think in his situation, because there was no history of violence and there is also obvious mental health issues, that the state attorney's office felt that this pretrial intervention was appropriate. And I know that that's always a dilemma when there's mental health issues. And this is actually something that you're very passionate about and that you speak a lot about. What can the state attorney's office do to address and to deal with cases where there is a mental health crisis or a component to it?
Well, we have specialty courts, mental health courts that are existing right now to help people get treatment that they need while we're also dealing with the facts of the underlying case. I think it's important that we address those issues because we don't want people to get a slap on the wrist and reoffend, and we have not addressed what the underlying issue, which might be mental health, it might be substance abuse, and I'm glad that we have those tools available to us. We have to use them responsibly, and we do the best that we can with the facts that we have and with the evidence that we have, but I think it's really important that we make sure that justice, it's fair, it's even-handed, but we also hold people accountable when they commit crimes in our community.
I want to turn the page here. This next question is one that candidates don't love to be asked about. It's about Amendment 3. Okay, that's recreational marijuana is on the ballot. If it passes, the ramifications for the state attorney's office are, it could be a number of things. I wonder what your position is on Amendment 3.
Yeah, well, I cannot wait to see what the voters in the state of Florida decide that they want to see happen as it relates to recreational marijuana. And whatever that is, my job as state attorney is to enforce the law.
I knew you were going to say this. You're right in the middle lane. You want to tell me how you're going to vote on it, how you feel about it personally?
Well, I'm just one vote, and so my vote, I think, is important to me, but I'm going to be looking and waiting to see what the voters want to say about that, and I think that it's important as a prosecutor to look at everything based on evidence, and so I hear one side, I hear the other side, and I make my decisions accordingly. I will say, though, if it does pass, I think that it's important that we have safeguards in place while some are, expressing their rights to now to possess recreational marijuana, it's important that that right doesn't infringe upon those who do not want to be around it or want it, in public places. So I'll be really curious to see how the legislature responds if Amendment 3 is passed. And also, I want to make sure that proceeds and the money that is derived from those sales, I hope that we can invest it in public safety, especially, I have to put in a plug for prosecutors, making sure that we can have more money that come to state attorneys' offices to help us recruit and retain more talent.
I'm running out of time. I think that might be my last question. It's actually about the creation of the hate crimes unit in the state attorney's office. Why are we doing that now, and why is it important now?
Well, I'm really proud of that work because I worked from the very beginning partnering with Broward County State Attorney's Office to bring our hate crimes task force here to Palm Beach County, and now the work has been continued by another member of my office. So I'm really proud of that work because it sends a strong message to the community, especially when we're looking at the rise in hate crimes, whether it's against the LGBTQ community, whether it's against our Jewish community, our Black community, whoever it is. We want to make sure that we send a strong message that in Palm Beach County, not only are we going to prosecute you, but we are going to make sure that we're out educating the community, that we're supporting victims, that we are spreading awareness, because that is how you address issues in our community. You do it by the police, prosecutors, and the public coming together to collaborate on solutions. And that's what our hate crimes unit is going to do.
And what's the rollout of that look like?
Well, as far as the task force?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we'd like to do is bring community partners together. So you have the state attorney's office, you have the U.S. attorney's office, you have stakeholders in our community that are nonprofit organizations, all types of community groups and leaders coming together, and we talk about issues. We talk about how we're going to educate our community. We talk about how we're going to support our community. And one of the key pieces of that grant program is awareness and how we can spread the word and get rid of misinformation when we're talking about hate speech versus hate crimes, what's permissible, what is not, and also just making sure that we have a unified voice when we are addressing hate in our community.
The producers are telling me I'm out of time. I got a lot more questions for you, but I have a feeling we'll talk to you again before the election. It's going to be here before you know it, but we'll talk again.
Thank you.
Alexcia Cox.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll be right back after this.